Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we learn how to draft a basic bodice block. So for this we will be needing our tape, our paper tape to hold the paper in place, marker, and our curve and straight ruler. If you have hammer and a straight ruler, you are good to go. Then we need our scissors to cut out the pattern. So now I've drawn a straight line. This line will serve as our guideline. So I'm using the line as my shoulder line. From my shoulder line, then I will measure my chest line. My chest line is 9.5. To get your chest line, you can divide your hammer by 2. My hammer is 19. 19 divided by 2 will give me 9.5. Then my bust point line is 11 plus ½ inch to join the shoulder together. That will give me 11.5. So I'm using 11.5 for my bust point. My waist is 17 plus the ½ inch. That will give me 17.5. My hip is 24 plus ½ inch at the shoulder and ½ inch at the hemline. That will give me 1 inch. So I'm adding 1 inch to my hip line. That will give me 25. So I'm marking the same thing again to get a straight line. 9.5, 11.5, 17.5, and 25. I'll make it into a straight line and show you. So I've made it into a straight line. So now we need to measure our shoulder line, shoulder measurement. My shoulder is 16. 16 divided by 2 will give me 8. So from that 8 inch, I will come down by 1 inch because I'm coming down by 1 inch because of the slope. Our shoulder is not straight. Then I'll be using 3 inches for the neck width. You can use 4, you can use 5, depending how wide you want your neckline to be. But for this tutorial, I will be using 3. So I will connect the 1 inch to the 3 inch. Measuring 8 inches that I mark on the shoulder line to make a straight line. So I'll measure from the slope. I will measure what I have from the slope to the chest line. So I'm having 8.5. So 8.5 divided by 2 will give me 4.25. So from that 4.25, I will come in by 7.5. That's 3/4 inch. 3/4. So from the slope, I will mark a straight line to the 3/4. Then I will use my curved side to curve it to the chest line. So this is my front armhole. For the back armhole, we don't need to come in by 7.5. So from that 4.25, I will use the curve side to curve it to the chest line to form our back armhole. So this is our back armhole. For my neck depth, I'll be using 3 as well. So to get this accurate neckline, I'm measuring 3 inch round. Then I will use the curve side to curve it. Now we input our dart. So we use our nipple to nipple measurement. My nipple to nipple is 8.5. But because this paper is on fold, I will measure 4.25. So from on my bust point line, I will measure 4.25. So on my waist as well, I will measure 4.25. On the hip line, I will measure 4.25 and connect the line together. So I will label it now. Our chest line, our bust point line, our waist, and our hip. So from the bust point line, I'll come down by 1 inch. And on the hip line, I'll come up by 2 inch. Our dart is always terminating 2 inches before the hip line. So on the waistline, I'm measuring a half inch. Then I will connect it to the 1 inch. Then I will connect it to the 2 inch as well. So this is our front dart. So now I'll be adding our measurement. My bust is 42. If I divide 42 by 4, that will give me 10.5. So I'm marking 10.5 on my chest line. So on the waist, my waist is 36. 36 divided by 4 will give me 9. Plus the 1 inch for that intake, that's 10 inches. Connect it together. So now this is our front bodice. So we'll be adding our seam allowance. I'm adding 1.5. You can add 1 inch, you can add 2 inch, depending on how wide you want your allowance to be. So on the waistline, I'm adding 1.5 as well. And on the hip line, I'm adding 1.5. So I'll connect it together. So now, this is our front bodice is always longer than the back bodice because we have bust at the front. So different from my bust, different from my front and my back is 1 inch. So if you come down by 1 inch from your bust point line, if your own is 2 inch, you input 2 inch, but mine is 1 inch. So on the dart line, the 4.25 that I will measure 1 inch as well. So I'll connect it together. And this is how our front bodies look like. I will use the front to trace out the back. So I've used the front to trace out the back. So this is how our front bodies look like. So I'll trace out the front armhole now. So this is our front bodice. So we don't need this one again. So now if we cut out this 1 inch, that means our back is going to be longer than the front because I use the front to cut out the back. So now 1 inch that will cut out from the front, so I'll be removing it at the back also. So I'm measuring 1 inch round to get a straight line. So this is the 1 inch. So I'm using 1 inch for my zipper allowance too. You can use half, you can use 1.5, but me, I'm using 1 inch. For me, 1 inch is okay. So our neck width is 3. Then for the back neck depth, I'll be using 1 inch. So I'll use my curve to curve it together. So this is our back neckline. So now I'll be labeling the line now. Our bust point, our chest line, our waist, and our hip line. So now we need to input our dart for the back. We said our dart is 8.5 divided by 2 is 4.25. For the front, we input the dart at the bust point, but for the back, we input the dart. We will mark the dart at the chest line and come down by 1 as well. So we'll measure the same thing on the bust point, on the waist, and on the hip line. 4.25, 4.25, 4.25. Then I will make it into a straight line. So I'll come up by 2 inches as well. Then on the waistline, I'm marking half inch, half inch, half inch. So I'll connect it to the chest line, to the 1 inch that will come down from the chest line. So I'll connect it to the 2 inch as well. Then this is our back neckline and our dart. So I'll cut it out now and show you what it looked like. This is what the front and the back look like. If my tutorial has been helpful to you, please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you.